Of Ariix. We know SlenderX, we know Accelerate's great, but Nutrifii is amazing. But it's important for you to know what are we doing when people take supplementation? What is this all about? This is really key to know. Supplementation is about health. It's not about disease. See, that's something that you need to understand, that consuming nutritional supplementation should just be simply a part of a healthy lifestyle, along with a healthy diet, exercise. We need to be taking high-quality nutritional supplements that provide what I call as cellular nutrition. But this is the absolute best way you and I can protect our health, or possibly regain our health if we've lost it. That's what this is really all about. But I have a concept, and it's called cellular nutrition. I write about it in my books, and I want you to know that I want all my patients and my children, everybody, on cellular nutrition. So how do I define cellular nutrition? I define it as supplementing all the essential nutrients at their optimal or advanced levels, or those levels that have been shown to provide a health benefit in our medical literature, not RDA levels. RDAs only is that level to protect us from acute deficiency diseases. We know, for example, that balance is the key. Now, what I mean by that is we understand that the problem is not a nutritional deficiency. The problem is oxidative stress, or what we call the dark side of oxygen. As we utilize oxygen to live, occasionally you can create a free radical that has an electrical charge and can damage the cell wall, vessel wall, fats, proteins, and even the DNA nucleus of the cell. In fact, the medical literature and scientific studies have shown us beyond any shadow of a doubt that oxidative stress is the root cause of over 100 of the chronic degenerative diseases you and I want to avoid. Now, those are diseases like heart disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, arthritis, rheumatoid, and the list goes on and on. But what you have to learn is that you want to have enough antioxidants to neutralize the number of free radicals you produce so you don't have any oxidative stress. We're basically rusting inside. So the same process that turns a cut apple brown or rust metal is rusting us inside. But we are not defenseless against that process, because antioxidants can neutralize that free radical and render it harmless. But people come to me so often who have already lost their health. My patients who are already suffering from a chronic degenerative disease are actually making more free radicals than my healthy patients. If they have rheumatoid arthritis or MS or Crohn's disease, this inflammation creates tremendous oxidative stress. So I, as a nutritional physician, am always adding what I call enhancers to my cellular nutrition, which is provided by the optimals. But that's where I go into the wonderful Ariix Nutrifii product line and use products like biopro-q or Vanali, MOA, Magna-Cal-D, the list goes on and on, because balance is the key. So what are the benefits of consuming high-quality nutritional supplements as a lifestyle? Well, first of all, the medical literature shows it optimizes your body's natural immune system. Also, it optimizes your body's natural antioxidant defense system. We have a natural antioxidant defense system. But what people don't understand, the same nutritional supplementation that I recommend also optimizes your body's natural repair system. We as physicians forget about the greatest defense against all of these chronic diseases or regaining your health is our body's natural repair system. So I want to share with you a case study just to give you an idea of where we go. And this happens to deal with a very good friend, lifelong friend, Nick Ewing. And Nick, he is a biblical counselor. He runs Christian Life Ministries in Rapid City, South Dakota. I know his dad is one of my best friends. I've known Nick since he was born and raised. He's 34 years old now, and he's a coach for our local American Legion baseball team. Last year in August, he was in the playoffs in North Dakota. We're from South Dakota. And he got a real bad viral infection. He had an upper respiratory infection, bronchitis. And it was about 10 days later to 2 weeks, his dad calls me and says, "Ray, something's wrong with Nick. He can't move his left arm." He totally couldn't move his left arm. So we put him in the hospital, and we ruled out West Nile virus. We ruled all this out. But our local doctors couldn't figure it out. So we got him in a plane. And what we did is we turned around and flew him to Mayo Clinic. And he was there the next day, and the doctors would come in, the neurologist came in. And they looked at Nick, and I mean, we're talking the top neurologists in the world at Mayo Clinic. Bill, his father, told me there were 7 came in at one time to look at Nick's case. They couldn't figure out what was going on. But they did an MRI of his spine, and they saw this damage all the way down his spine in the area that the polio virus hits, and they couldn't figure it out. Well, 2 days later, Nick woke up and he couldn't move either leg. He was totally paralyzed. He couldn't move. And in fact, they started to treat him, and what happened was, they did a plasmapheresis, they put him on antivirals, they put him on prednisone, nothing worked. And they finally said, "We don't know what happened or what's going on," but sent him home. And he came home, and his wife had to start taking care of him. And what he found is, I tried to explain to Nick, I says, "Nick, the only thing they've recommended for Mayo Clinic is intensive physical therapy. They don't know what to do." But he's sitting there, his right arm was basically spared, but he couldn't move his shoulder, couldn't do this, obviously couldn't move his legs. His wife shares with me that he was like Velcro to the mattress. He couldn't move. Once he was laying in bed, he couldn't move, he didn't have enough strength, he had to grab her and roll over, and if you ever imagine that. So when I went to visit with Nick, I explained to him there are stages of disease. And I explained to him there's a development stage. He now got a viral illness. A lot of people feel that he got an autoimmune response to that attacked his spinal cord 10 days to 2 weeks later. So it was his own immune system that destroyed that spinal cord. And he went through then the treatment. He went to Mayo, he was diagnosed, he went through the treatment, he received all this intensive treatment. But then, when he came home, what hope did he have? Hopelessness. But I said, no, there is a repair stage. There's always a chance that your body can get better, but you need to provide your body with optimal nutrition. He always ate a healthy diet, but we put him on a very aggressive nutritional supplement program because I knew it could build up and optimize this repair stage. And in fact, just last month, they finally labeled Nick's disease as being acute flaccid myelitis. And this is what the children have gotten, about 150 cases around the country. They get a viral illness, they get this. So here's Nick. He can't move, he can't do anything. We get him on this nutritional program, and just imagine what is happening with his family and his wife. But I don't need to tell you the story. Ariix has brought him out so he can share his own story. So I'm going to have Nick come out and share his story. Thank
chair out just so nothing really embarrassing happens. So if I get tired, I'll be sitting down. Thank you so very much. Very excited to be here. As Dr. Strand said, my name is Ewing. I'm 34 years old. I have an amazing wife. We'll be married 15 years at the end of this month. And I have 4 kids. 2 daughters, 10, 8, and 2 sons, 5 and 2. So, as you can imagine, when you wake up one day and you can't get out of bed, my world was turned over, as well as my wife's, who, you know, when you got 4 young kids, you're busy, you're active. It's a beautiful thing, but as my mom said, it's the hardest job you'll ever love. And so my wife was incredibly active and busy taking care of our family, and now she has to take care of me as well. So when we get invited to Christmas parties, I would hop on her back and she'd literally piggyback me up into a house. Or my brother-in-law and my dad would have to carry me from the wheelchair and put me in a vehicle when I couldn't drive to get anywhere. So time and time again, every little thing, everywhere I went, life was completely different. I can remember sitting in bed and my feet were pointed kind of to the side. And my therapist would say, all right, now try to bring them up to point the ceiling, and I could not get my toes to point the ceiling. So going from, you know, I was the guy who, as long as I can remember, 6 days a week, I was intentionally doing something active. About a year ago, actually, I was in Las Vegas coaching, and up early in the morning, found myself a alley in the parking lot, and I was running sprints. A week later, in Huron, South Dakota, they didn't have a gym there. I found a playground where no kids were, so I didn't freak them out, and found out how to do exercise on the pull-up bar and things like that. So to go from that to not being able to move and to need somebody to lift you into a car was a humbling experience, and it's a very tough experience, and it still is. All through my life, I was taught that a man's job is to protect and to serve. And I still believe in that. And a couple months ago, my family and I were in Hawaii and taking a sabbatical, just trying to get close as a family, and worked hard on repairing what I could with therapy. And we were sitting on the beach, and next thing you know, I hear screams coming from my kids. And all 4 of them are out in the ocean, and a current has taken them. And 2 of them had life jackets on, and 2 of them did not. And I hear they're just terrified, and so immediately the adults kind of stand up who are with me, and thank God my wife is on top of it, and I just yell, go, go, go. And so the adults run out there, and of course for me they're not fast enough. And I have to sit there and watch as my wife graciously grabs all my kids and gets them to shore. But those are hard moments as a dad, to feel like I'm supposed to be out there, and have to sit in the sand and kind of beat my fist against the ground and try to keep it together when, thank God, my kids are okay. But those are tough scenarios, and it's not a part of my plan. But throughout all of this, I know there is a plan. And so in life, different things hit you, and just because you don't know the answer doesn't mean there isn't an answer. Job 23:10 says, my God knows what he is doing with me, and when he is finished, I will come out pure as gold. And I beg for the faith to continue to believe that even though this is hard, metals are refined in fire and in intense heat. And when intense heat is applied to a metal, the impurities rise to the surface and get scraped away. And we all, as human beings, we get forged by fire. And so, though we endure all kinds of trials and all kinds of suffering, some physical, some emotional, some relational, there is a plan. And I sit here today knowing at the end of this plan that I will be more pure than I am now. And there's certain lessons that I pray that I'll never forget. Lessons of compassion, lessons of humility, lessons of frailty, lessons of recognizing that I'm a creature, not the creator. And I think in life we have a tendency, our culture anyway, has a tendency to separate the miraculous from medicine. We have a tendency to separate the spiritual from science. And I don't see it that way. I see God being the source of all things, and because of that, he may choose to use a miraculous prayer to heal somebody. And he may choose to use medicine and cellular nutrition and Ariix vitamins to heal me. James 1:17, I believe, says that all good things come from above. And so My desire, my challenge for you is a lot of people I meet who would, you'd say maybe highly spiritual, they say, no, I'm not going to do anything, I'm not going to take chemo, I'm not going to do this stuff because God's going to heal me. And then on the other side of it, people will look for the miraculous, and if they don't see the miraculous, they turn to medicine and science and say, God must not be here. And from my perspective, both are wrong. And I'm so grateful that God has saw fit to cultivate a relationship with Dr. Strand and my family, that he's just been a champion for me, that he introduced me to Ariix vitamins, and that God gifted people much smarter than I to work out all the science and the pharmaceuticals and figure out how the human body works so that we can simply come alongside that to the point where he has me on a highly aggressive cellular nutrition program. And as you can see, my current status now is a lot better than being lifted into a car, being piggybacked by my wife, although that was an honor. It's nice. I've never been more blessed to have a fit wife when I needed her. But to be able to come out here and be able to walk out here and to understand that there's all kinds of ways and means that God uses to heal. And I'm so grateful that he has chosen to heal me through things like Ariix and relationships and prayer and family coming alongside me and doing everything they possibly can to see a recovery take place. And my job, I feel like, is to do everything that I can with the wisdom that we've been blessed with and with the science we've been blessed with and the therapists that we've been blessed with to work my tail off and show them what they've never seen before in my rehab center and hopefully come out on the other side of this. Quick story, when I was in Mayo Clinic, I was about 5-6 feet from a huge garbage can and I got done eating an apple. And so I went to throw this apple into the garbage can, and I threw it and it hit the wall 5 feet away. Slid down the wall, and I said, give me that, to my dad, and he did it again. Splattered the wall. I did this 4 times where apple was all over the wall, and I couldn't make it in the garbage can, so something was obviously wrong. This morning I had a tiny piece of paper, and I had a very small garbage can. Threw that thing, and I nailed it. So something's working. With that, I want to welcome Dr. Strand out on the stage, who's just been a hero in my life.
It's important to realize that health can be taken away from us very, very quickly. It isn't always a slow thing, but we're still on a journey. Nick and his family, I mean, we're just praying that he continues to get better and better. He's self-independent. He can be, you know, his wife doesn't have to pick and hold him up. But I want you to know, it's been touching to see how he's handled the stress and the duress of this illness. And we just wanted to share his story with you. In fact, I'll be signing books at the end of the afternoon session, and Nick will be sitting next to me if anybody wants to ask him questions. But I also want at this time to ask his wife, Sherry, to come on out. And you can see she's not the biggest lady in the world to be lifting him around. But I think this is hard on Nick. It's Sherry. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.